Hello, everybody, and welcome back to GT4 Pro Series action, Season 4, continuing here, Race 4 at Snetterton tonight for you. I'm Jesse Lee, back with you again with Tim Peck and Christian Stricker in the booth tonight, and oh boy, it's a controversial racetrack, Tim.
Yep, today we're here at Snetterton, the second British track in this championship so far. Not a fan personally of Snetterton, but it can have some quite interesting moments, especially for the GT4 cars. I'd say it's almost built more for the GT4s than the GT3s. So hopefully we'll have some good racing tonight. We've had a couple of really rough and dirty races so far. So hopefully this is the first clean one, but by saying that, I have probably just jinxed it.
Well, we talked about earlier privately to ourselves, Tim, that we're not huge fans of the Snetterton track, and if there was a weak link to the GT pack that had came out some time ago now, it was probably Snetterton. I mean, you couldn't have the GT pack without Snetterton, let's be completely honest, but it is well, it's a different sort of track. It's not a track that a lot of drivers look forward to, and well, you can't ignore the writing on the wall. We've had a few sign-outs for specifically this round, and I think that has a lot to do with the venue.
Yeah, I agree, but I also agree that it is an essential track as part of the British pack. Surprised we don't see someone like Cadwell Park here. Of course, they're all under the same ownership over here in Britain, so there is a couple missing, but Snetterton is such a classic track over here, and it's hard to deny, especially with our resident of Snetterton, the waving tree man or the scary tree man, depending on, well, your fear of plants, really. He is, of course, no longer here in real life, but in-game he is still sitting there right on the corner of Montreal, waving at all the cars as they go through.
Got struck by lightning some years ago now. It was 2 or 3 years ago. I remember having the news delivered to me via my Discord inbox that the tree was going to get cut down after a lightning storm that happened out here. This track, not a very fan favorite-y sort of track, but usually speaking, you're racing GT3s. Not the case today. We are racing GT4s, and strangely enough, the reviews of this place in a GT4 car are actually quite a bit better. They find it a lot easier to race, and of course the raceability, so important to a racetrack's character. You can't really race each other too hard here in GT3 machinery without sending you yourself or someone else off. That's not quite so in a GT4. You can get really racy and side by side in these cars. Of course, the speeds are lower, and also the cars, technically speaking, are around the same size, but they're less aero dependent. It's going to be interesting to see probably more than a few hip checks off the track tonight.
Yeah, the cars are that little bit smaller. That's not including the Chevrolet, of course, which is just a big tank almost, takes up the whole circuit. But Snetterton, a very tight track, so not a lot of places where you can make a move. Obviously, the track is very thin, so finding the space can be difficult. But if anyone can do it, it's the GT4s. They've got the benefit of being able to take the curbs a little bit more and having much better ride height that can just really eat those corners a lot better. So, well, it's like you say, if there's anyone that can race here, it is the GT4s as we now enter the qualifying stage of this championship.
We sure do. Race 4 qualifying here is very important. It's almost like a Cadwell Park in that respect, or an Olton Park rather, where you certainly want to qualify because passing here certainly comes at a premium. I'd like to sit here and tell you we've got a hotly contested championship, and Abeladze has, well, he's won 3 of the last 4 races, so not quite the championship we were expecting, but a lot of time left and a lot can change. It is hotly contested though for second, third, and fourth. We will bring you the standings after 3 rounds. After the qualifying session, 10 minutes here qualifying in the AM, 6 a.m. that is, and all the pro competitors will be released from the pit lane at the same time. Just answering a question from chat, as we always are doing here on RCI TV. How can we take part in this race? Well, unfortunately, this is a series that you have to sign up for before the season commences. So unfortunately, you can't. But if you join our Discord, over at RCI. You can find that in the description. You can sign up for the next GT4 Championship and a lot of other events as well. Qualifying underway. What are we looking for tonight?
Well, as you said, a fast lap is essential here with qualifying, really setting the race pace, really. Not a lot of places to overtake, so where you qualify will matter. Tom Bryant is leading the pack currently. Probably where you want to be right now. We often say you don't want to be the first out in qualifying because then you've got the worst track conditions, whereas the people at the back might have a little bit more grip. But this time round, I think the open air and that extra chance for an extra lap might be what helps the GT4s get through here. So Tom Bryant leading the pack is just coming onto the start-finish straight now, and he will be starting his first fast lap. For qualifying times, I mean, I'm at a loss. I think we were seeing 1:56s in the practice session, but other than that, I don't really know what sort of times we're looking for here.
Well, of course, RCI's been here once before in the GT4s that I'm aware of. I wasn't on the broadcast for it. As getting all sorts of on the grass there, exiting turn 1 and now going towards Montreal in the absolute massive hairpin. The track looks very wide, but I promise you, you don't really want to go off of the racing line. Tom Bryant will do well just to get around here and set a lap. Of course, lap invalidations, Tim Peck, a big problem around here.
Yeah, there's lots of places where you can go just that little bit wide, or in some cases a little bit too tight, and it will invalidate your lap completely. A little easier, I'd say, than Donington, where you've obviously got the chicane, and that's just, well, you're going to invalidate your lap there if you don't hit it quite right. But it's like you said, especially on that final set of corners, I mean, there's about 3, I think, in that turn that you can see at the end there, and well, they're very hard to get right. You do have to really balance that throttle correctly, make sure you're braking at the right point as well. And as I was saying to you earlier, it just feels like it goes on forever. You're sitting on it for what feels like a couple of 360s. So it'll be interesting to see which cars can balance it out. It looks like a lot of them are doing well so far. Car, is that 777? Yes, that's the Mercedes of Mulholland. He's fallen behind the pack a little bit. Probably just tried to find himself some room and hopefully hasn't spun up completely, as we see Tom Bryant really eat that curb there, unsettling the GT4 a little bit on the corner, but still on the track, so it could be a good lap yet.
It could be, but you got to watch out. You don't want to dip any tires on the outside of the track, but you don't want to run it too close to the inside either, at least until you get to this point. You want to be as far to the right as you possibly can and then swing it back left, but don't go over the inside curb and don't go too far out on the right. You'll invalidate it either way. Tom Bryant has done a really great job for the RRR Academy in this case, and he's going to set the very first lap, and it's looking like it is going to be an invalidation. So I thought there was a chance he might have invalidated in turn 1. That's why I brought it up, and I think he has to. Actually, no, he hasn't. We just don't have our splits up right now. That was a 56.283 for Abeladze, who's in 3rd. Tom Bryant, who's the first set laps, down in 6th place. And now Mikowski, the quickest of all. Now, that's an invalidation for Abeladze, and I don't think I'm going out too far on that limb to say that. But Mikowski, the quickest of all, a 55.851. Rubliar, nearly 4 tenths off the pace, but it doesn't matter. Calandrino, 1.5 tenths to 2nd place in the number 12 Porsche, as that was really close. I thought they were going to continue to gain there. They didn't, but still looking promising for Calandrino, Rubliar, Fisher, Abeladze, all very close behind them, but setting the pace so far, Mikowski, a 55.8. I think that's pretty good.
Yep, they have already broken into the 155s here, and Mikowski did a brilliant lap there. Surprisingly, despite qualifying quite low down, I think he's about 15th back at Donington, but very, very quick on the track and climbed through that pack so quickly in both races, managing to score himself top 5 in both. So very fast driver Mikowski is, and he's already setting the pace now, as you can see. Calandrino in 2nd there, only 0.15 seconds behind. Also very fast driver, very good on his quali pace here. I believe was on pole last week at Donington as well. So there's a bit of a theme forming here. Rubliar is up in 3rd place, and he's definitely going to be looking for a good race. He's not quite managed to have one yet. Always starting high up, but just falling through and not being able to be consistent. So I'm sure he's looking for a brilliant result today. And as we're watching Boardman, who I believe is up on his lap and is looking to maybe put himself in first. I think he's 9 tenths off on his current time, so he's about to cross the line here. We're going to see where that puts him. I expect this will be first place, and it is. That's a 155.5. He's 3 tenths of second up on Mikowski, and that will be our fastest lap so far.
Well, he's driving like a grease weasel, isn't he? It just looks so natural, and he's got the big suck from the BMW in front. And even though it's a GT4, don't make any mistake, it still matters. Any suck that you can get will matter anytime you're going down a straightaway, and it certainly probably added a little extra there. Even if it's only 1/1000th of a second, anything is better than nothing. Fisher goes second at 24/100ths off the fastest time by Boardman. So Fisher, after being moved down the order, after a pretty impressive first lap, has regained all of that place that he lost. Mikowski 1/10 back now in third. Rubliar still sitting at 3.5 tenths off the pace, but don't get it twisted. Rubliar has improved as well. So everybody getting a little bit quicker here. It might be a case of who gets the final lap might actually have the best shot at taking the pole position. We got Torzillo in 6th, Abeladze, the championship leader, all the way back in 7th. You don't want to start there if you have a big championship leader. Rasser, Lawrence, and Daly the top 10.
And I was just saying to Christian actually before the stream started, Abeladze is starting to really run away with this championship, and I think I worked out that he had to be somewhere around where he is right now, 6th or 7th in every single race from now in order for Fischer or Verstappen to be able to catch up and take that lead. Obviously that or one bad race can put him right back in the fight for the championship, but Abeladze is going to want to improve on this time if he's going to start high up and get that good race in, because I mean, he's got a championship to keep hold of now, and he's not going to want to start fumbling around the 4th race of the season. There's 2 more races to come after this, so despite the fact he has got this 50-point lead, he's going to need to keep extending this gap if he wants to keep hold of it.
Yeah, the last thing you want to do here is start to get complacent or have a bad race, and he'll be looking to get back up towards the front. And of course, there's still a minute and a half left to qualifying here. They could get back up there, but it's so uncommon to see the 579 sort of languishing, not even in the top 5, but still just in the top 10. And what I would consider the danger area, the danger zone. And in fact, Calandrino in the 12 actually puts him back another spot. So your championship leader back to 8th, Calandrino up to 5th with that 55.884, as everybody getting a little bit closer to Boardman now.
He is on a really good lap right now, though. Abeladze is currently 6/10ths up on his current time, so he's going to push himself right up there. Maybe not first place at this current pace, but I mean, he's got it to come 2nd or 3rd here. So we're just going to watch him come around this final set of corners. Hopefully he can hold this time together. It looks like Lawrence is also improving on this time, but it's a little bit early on the lap to tell as we see Abeladze come around the final corner now. Still 7/10ths up, so he might just be able to slot himself in first place if he gets a good exit here on this final corner. We'll see how he's going to do. As he starts finish straight, he's gone a little bit wide there, so that's not going to be good for the exit, but I imagine this will be enough to put him in 3rd place at least. Let's see as he comes across the line here, and that is enough for 3rd, so he's just 900ths of a second off 1st place. Much better start, but of course he is behind Fischer, who is one of his championship rivals right now, so Fischer will be looking to hold him off on that first corner.
That just feels better if you're Abeladze to be inside the top 5, and that is a little bit more peace of mind, especially that far up the field. Well, for Verstappen, we've talked a lot about in the Chevrolet this season, and they have certainly benefited from some of the bigger, wider, and longer straightaway tracks. Well, this track has a couple of very long straightaways, but it hasn't come in handy for the driver of the 747 Camaro. Has it all the way down in 11th place, 1.3 off of the pace. But could this be the shot in the arm that Verstappen's looking for? Down to 12th for the moment and inside the top 10 right there at the end of 56.359 for Verstappen, as they will be one of the first cars to take the checkered flag, the end of qualifying, and nearly everybody hitting the abort button here. I've never seen this in an RCI event. Martin Lawrence not hitting the eject button and ending qualifying. They're on a lap, and it's going to be good enough for 9th place of 56.193. I've never seen that. Almost the entire top 10 aborted their final quali lap and went back to pit lane. That's incredible stuff.
I'm going to be honest, the end of qualifying really snuck up on me here. I wasn't even aware that we were within that final minute. So quali has definitely gone really quickly so far this Thursday evening. And, well, Boardman is going to be very happy to have his first pole position. He's set up for the race. It's looking really good for him. Fisher is just behind him in second, and Abeladze will take third place. So the championship leaders will be fighting out massively at the front here. Verstappen is down in 10th, so he's maybe looking to gain a couple more places in the race. He's clearly not enjoying Snetterton very much so far, but hopefully for him, he'll be able to climb up. And Mikowski having a much better start this weekend, up there in 4th place. He's going to be hoping to do some real damage and pop out a good couple of laps. And towards Zidlo is obviously rounding us up in 5th. So a good mixture of people in the top 10. There's not a dominant car this weekend, which is weird because, I mean, every race so far, it's either been the BMWs or the Aston Martins that have been really taking the lead. And this time it's, well, a real mix of them. There's only about 2 of each car in the top 10.
Well, you like to see that brand parity, and you also like to see the drivers that you're having to race against starting next to you. It's a true match of how well you have been doing. And speaking of how well you have been doing, here are the championship standings. This is after round 3 1 week ago. Abeladze, with the 3 wins, has been absolutely on fire. 3 wins out of the last 4 and 341 points to his name. Verstappen, second place, 296. 3 points behind him, Garrett Fisher in third place. Then a bit of a gap to Minno Crozen in the 82 in the 4th place spot, and a couple of points behind him, Mikowski rounds out your top 5. Samuel Villa is no longer taking part in this championship, so they will free fall throughout these championship standings. And judging by the way that they're highlighted in my standings that were given here, I think they might have either been disqualified or something by stewarding over the week, because their name is red. Usually red means dead. Harsvord in 7th place. I don't know. I heard a laugh from my production there. Harsvord in 7th place. Busek, Jake Boswell is not taking part in the race today either. He's not red and dead. He's just having back spasms because he's an old man. He is going to be coaching the Triple R teams today. He's already been on Tom Bryant for not driving well. Story of Tom Bryant's life. And Adalbert Ertan rounding out the top 10.
And coming up in 11th place, we have Svensik, who's had a good couple of races recently. Calandrino in 12th place, followed closely by Zarka. He's only 5 points between the 2 Porsches there. Tom Bryant in 14th place, 110 points. He's going to be very happy with the results of Donington, where he managed to really get some good results in all the chaos. Rubala is in 15th, closely followed by Tord Zidlo in 16th. Max Wojner in the Aston Martin is currently tied with Boardman in 17th and 18th place. They're both on 93 points. John Araza, he's down in 19th with Wolf Machuska, who I believe has had to pull out of the championship due to scheduling conflicts. So he's currently holding 20th, but unfortunately will no longer be driving with us.
Yeah, Wolf Matushka, of course, having other things that he has to take care of. Here are the drivers further down. These drivers are looking to improve. Only a couple of points between them, but could benefit massively from some of the no-shows. Jordan Daly in 21st, Chamberlain 22nd, Nathan McConnell 23rd, Darren Maholland in the 777 in 24th, and Phil Roberts rounding out the top 25. Carlos, who's just joined us in chat, says, I hate Snetterton. Well, you're definitely not alone. We could have a We Don't Like Snetterton support group, perhaps. Martin Lawrence, 27th, Luke Wigg, 28th, Neil Pimlott, 29th, and Gaspar in 30th place. All these drivers separated by only 43 points.
And here will be your current backrunners. These people will definitely be looking to maybe pick up a couple of points and just put themselves above the rest. Olaf Leff is currently in 31st place with Vasilev right behind him. Hoopner is in 33rd. Billy Octane in the other Maserati is currently in 34th. They're tied for points, both with 21 so far. Crozen down in 35th, closely followed by Varga. Again, both tied for points, so we've got a lot of ties for points down here. Julian Lardier in the Porsche is currently 37th, with Magnani right behind him in 38th. Hovarth and Jelinek will round out the top 40, and I believe we have one more person in 41st. Yes, we do. That's Borodai, who has been disqualified from the championship.
Yeah, and just to reiterate on Samuel Villa, I'm not sure if Samuel Villa has been disqualified or not, because they don't have a disqualified check mark, but their name is red And I know blue means they've signed out, but red means something, usually means that they're no longer taking part, not on their own accord. But we'll check in on that and maybe get a better idea. Well, here is the waving arm man tree. And well, you can see how it was struck by lightning because it has a gigantic branch and it's the tallest thing in the area. Unfortunately, that tree being cut down to the loss of everybody in the area. We are, of course, I'd reckon this is the west of it, or excuse me, the east of England, right? This is about as far east in England as you can possibly get. And it is completely cloudy here at 5 a.m. and the sun is out. So, oh dear, what do we got going on? Is it typically, if you are from Norwich, can somebody tell me, is it really in the middle of summer? Is it light out at 5 a.m.? That's incredible stuff.
I mean, I'd say a lot of Britain has just got this weird weather thing going on right now, and our times don't seem to line up with when we get our light and our night. So Britain's got that weird weather. It's got those weird day and night times. We just put up with it here. It's something that we don't really talk about, but a dry race will be probably a sigh of relief for everyone here currently on the circuit. You would not want rain at Snetterton, so with the dry weather, everyone's going to be very happy to see that as we see them start up on their formation lap. Boardman, of course, leads the pack with Fisher behind, and Abeladze will round out the top three. So all three of them will be hoping to make an interesting race, really. Boardman is going to be, well, he's got a lot of pressure there to hold off both Fisher and Abeladze. Both have been very good contenders in the previous races, so he's got a lot on his plate right now, but I reckon if anyone can do it, it's someone driving a Porsche.
Well, let's set the stage. We are at Snetterton. We know a lot of the drivers. Not a huge fan of this racing circuit. We've got some drivers signed out for, let's be completely fair, probably because we're at Snetterton. We've got some other drivers who are not here due to injury, but you know who are here. A lot of the championship contenders. Abeladze, who was looking like they were going to start outside the top five, ended up qualifying third, looking good. They've not started on pole for every race that they've won. It's not been compulsory, and it might not be here today because you can win from that position. And folks, if this is your first this is your first GT4 race that you've joined us for, here's how we do it. 2 30-minute races every week. Of course, this is round 4. And we will have 2 races, no pit stops. It is a straight up sprint race. And it wouldn't be Snetterton if we did not mention, usually there's a pile up here because it's a land rush start.
And that would be going with a theme with the rest of the championship. We have had a lot of pile-ups so far, so I'd say we're hoping to avoid it, but we wouldn't say we're not expecting it here. It's definitely one of those tracks that does catch a lot of people out, and of course, not being a favourite track, a lot of people probably won't be too upset if it does all go wrong at the beginning here. So you've got the usual front runners towards the front. Verstappen's obviously starting a little bit back and will be hoping to climb through the pack quite quickly. It is worth noting that qualifying dictates where you start for both races. There is no reverse grid, and there is no grid depending on how race 1 ends. So these will be your standings for the end of qualifying, and this will be the beginning grid for both races. So a lot for Verstappen to catch up through right now, especially if he wants to stay ahead of Fisher in the championship. And we're just coming around the final couple of corners down to the start-finish straight. Jesse Lee, who do you think is going to take it away with this one?
Well, Andy Boardman could certainly use a little bit of good luck. They've had nothing but the opposite in the 69 Porsche, and today they get the better starting spot, the best starting spot in the house. But Garrett Fisher on the outside, I cannot tell you how many times I've seen that outside converted into a P1 as they enter Montreal. No live stewarding on Thursdays, as is usual here. All stewarding will take place in post-race. Any penalties you see that pop up will be ACC assigned. The green flags are down, the lights are on, and once again, the outside of Garrett Fisher getting the better shot, but look at Andy Boardman run into turn 1. It's excellent. Their 4 cars are all single file, but behind them, they fight. Torzillo and Rubliar fight over that spot, and instantly, in an instant, they're side by side again.
And that wasn't a great start for Abeladze there. He has already dropped a place to Mikowski, I believe, just breaking that little bit too early going into the first corners. Mikowski now is looking for the outside of Fisher, and oh, it doesn't look like he's quite got it. He has to drop back behind, but a brilliant start from Mikowski, and Abeladze is not going to be happy with that one. But all in all, a fairly clean start as Fisher has actually just been knocked off the track and is now eaten it. Oh, it looks like he's going to knock Boardman out of the way as well. So luckily it's not a huge pile up, but that is Fisher now taking out Boardman, and both will fall back into the pack. Not an ideal start for those two.
Tim, what does Andy Boardman have to do? Qualified on pole, won the battle into turn 1, was out in front, and gets ran wide by a car that misses the braking point, and now finds themselves back in the pack. I think they're just about 6th place. Oh my goodness, I would not want to be anywhere near Andy Boardman tonight. Absolutely fuming, I reckon.
And I reckon there's a bit of beef forming between these two, because those were the two that, of course, hit each other at Donington, causing a huge pile up there. Fisher has gone slightly wide and is
that was on purpose.
Yes. Well, he's nudging a Razor around there, and Fisher's trying to get back in front of him. It looks like well, Fisher is definitely not looking on form, so this is a recurring theme for him. It seems that this first race he's really struggling to find his feet as he manages to squeeze it round Lorenz, I believe. And well, Fisher's certainly not looking confident here today. He's going to try and find his way back through a Razor, but wow, not an ideal start for Fisher, and a sad start for Boardman there as he does get pushed back into the pack and will no longer be having out. But Abeladze has to take Mikowski for P1. Oh, he's gone wide though, and Mikowski's going to be able to pull away here. It's Abeladze's not going to be able to hold it on the track any further, but he's getting eager to get back in P1. Well, if there's anywhere there's going to be action, it's going to be up the front here.
Mikowski has shown you he's not going to be passed here. Abeladze, if he wants it, he's going to have to try and get down the inside. Mikowski forcing Abeladze wide there, making sure that he only has one path and it's not the preferred one. But look what that's done. That's towards Zillow, who, by the way, is all the way up in 3rd place, is hounding the championship leader, and Mikowski is disappearing now. I have to tell you, that was one of the more clean starts, despite the fact that there were a couple of bumps, one including the leader, albeit. Most of the cars, if not all of them, still in a single file line here. So it could have been a lot worse. Some argy-bargy, but hey, man, they have fenders for a reason.
I agree. It was a very, very clean start there, especially seeing as we were predicting a lot messier one, as Torzido's actually getting a good run up on Abeladze here and might look to make a move into the last couple of corners. It looks like he's going to be that little bit too far back so far, but Torzido, what a driver. I mean, he's always been right there behind Abeladze. We saw this back at, was it Zolder as well, where Torzido was holding up 2nd place. So a brilliant driver. He just needs to find that extra bit of pace to make the overtake happen. He will make it happen as we cut to Rubilar now, who is watching them from behind, just hanging back that little bit. Not had a lot of luck, Rubilar hasn't, so he's probably looking to stay out of trouble here. But, I mean, well, he's that little bit far back from them. He's not looking to make a move himself, but if either of them goes off track, he will be the first to capitalize off it.
I'm just trying to figure out what happened to Garrett Fisher in the 78 Aston. Like, why did they go off the track in that hairpin? That could have been assisted from a car in the back. Well, let's see as we go to the replay. Was it just a misjudgment of the corner? Yes, indeed it was. Didn't look like there was a touch, and there was a touch there between the 69 and the 78. But I was wondering if the 68 had an issue, but that was...
Oh, that's Abeladze.
That's Abeladze's off. I thought that was Tom Bryant. That's Abeladze. What happens here? He just misses it, Tim.
Oh, it looks like he's just gone completely wide on the corner, and he's spun around completely, trying to get back onto the circuit. That is not what Abeladze wants to happen right now, and that is actually going to put him in risk of the championship points, so he needs to climb back through that field quickly if he wants to hold on to this championship. Oh, he's fallen right to the back.
Folks, there's one thing you cannot do when you have a big lead late in a championship, and that's just completely throw in the towel. And he's not going to, Abeladze, but he is got it all to do now. He needs to get some of these points back. Mikowski with a 1.3 second lead, but towards Zillow in the 373. is not going to let him get away. Mikowski, Torzillo, Rubliar, your top 3 boardmen, and Calandrino, the top 5. If you would have told me what the top 5 would have looked like 3 laps in at the start, it wouldn't have been this.
No, this is certainly a mix-up, and there are some people who've done really well at the start here. I've just noticed, though, Abeladze spinning out. I mean, it's not great for his championship position, but his rivals, Fischer and Verstappen, the only people nearby enough to contend this championship, are also not very high up themselves. So these two are going to want to capitalise in this moment. They'd have seen Abeladze would have been facing the wrong way. They'd have seen that he'd have fallen back. They need to get a much better result here if they want to catch up in the championship. As we watch Fischer now, he's trying to make a move on the Razor, but there's just nowhere to go. He's looking down the inside, but it doesn't look like it's quite going to happen. We get this lovely under the bonnet cam. I love this shot. It is so good for chasing. It looks beautiful, but it does also show us when there just isn't the room to get through, and Fischer is going to struggle to find the room here against a Razor. I mean, he's going to be really sweating right now. He's panicking. He needs to climb.
Yeah, he sure does. I'm sure there's some people out there, whenever we say things like, well, there's no room to pass, they'll be like, well, the road's plenty wide enough. And it is, but this track races like a one groove racetrack. If you're not in the groove, you're losing time. There's no way. It's not like a parabolica where you can go around the inside or the outside and make up time or run an identical lap. There is, folks, a right and a wrong way to race at Snetterton. And, well, it's being side by side just on one corner loses you more than 1 second just in a single corner. So any passing opportunities and attempts, you have to get it right. Abeladze, by the way, back inside the top 20, getting by Phil Roberts for the 20th place position. And Fischer looking to the inside. It's a tough move. Thinks better of it, but now, just like I said, puts them into the clutches of Martin Lawrence, and Martin Lawrence knows his way to make a pass around here, but can't quite get the grunt off the corner to get it done. Has to fall back in line himself. Oh, a little bit of contact there, perhaps.
And it looks like both managed to keep it together. Lawrence didn't hit Fischer too hard there, because that could have spelled a lot of trouble. But it looked like he lost a bit of grip coming out that corner. Otherwise, I reckon he had it down the inside of Fischer. Fischer just trying to make that move on the inside. But as you said, if you're not on the racing line, well, you're not going to be getting the speed you need. And he was off the racing line, he was down the inside, and he just didn't have any acceleration coming out that corner. So Razor did manage to just pull away really quickly, as we now watch Lawrence go a little bit wide. But sadly, well, not sadly, good for him, not too much to drop him back too far, as we see Abeladze is starting to climb through the pack, so he wants his positions back, and he is getting them. He's back up to 19th, he's passed Pimlott, he did pass Roberts earlier, and the chase is on for Abeladze. He needs to make up these positions if he wants to get as many points as he needs.
Abeladze came in with a 50-plus point lead, and, well, if it finished like this, he would lose almost his entire lead. He would only have a few points left in the bank, and that is the thrill of victory, the agony of defeat. As racing, it doesn't always go your way. I genuinely thought Abeladze would be safe starting inside the top 5, and certainly the start wasn't perfect, but it wasn't bad either for Abeladze. It just overcooked it. The same thing we saw with the 68, or excuse me, the 78, just overcooking it there and going off. The difference is Fischer was able to keep it on the island. Abeladze spun, and speaking of Fischer, trying to go on the outside, this is brave stuff. It can work out if you can pin the car to the inside. In fact, has done. John Arasser down a position, and Garrett Fischer back up to 6th place, turn 1, and you don't usually see that, but it is possible, and he's made it work here.
And that was a beautiful clean overtake as well. You can't fault that in any way from Fischer. He saw the opportunity and he just took it. And as you said, he managed to stick the car perfectly, so not losing any pace. There's Abeladze, I think, is in the pit lane and might have retired from the race. Surely that is not what you want to do if you're fighting for a championship right now.
Huge championship implications here at Snetterton today. Your championship leader, Abeladze, winner of 3 of the last 4, sitting in the pit lane. And I could be wrong, Tim, but I think if you don't finish, you don't get any points.
I believe you are correct there. Obviously finishing, I think 22nd, you still earn some points. So I'd have personally tried to just finish the race there. If he was damaged, you still should just try and drive around. He clearly could, because he was gaining positions, but something clearly wasn't right with that car. He has retired himself to the pit lane, and well, that's not where you want to be. You're not going to get any points, and that is going to allow both Fischer and Verstappen to catch up, and I believe both are in a position where they will gain enough points to now. So Fischer and Verstappen, they want to climb as many places as possible, try and build themselves that little bit of a lead, because as we know, Abeladze is fast and has had the better end of the stick in previous races. So a big opportunity opens for both Fischer and Verstappen here, and they need to utilise it. Both, funnily enough, have actually fallen back. Not something we're used to seeing Verstappen do. Verstappen is usually quite fighty and quite racy with other people, but he has managed to catch up, actually, saying that Lawrence is now in range of Verstappen as they come through the final set of corners now. Let's see if he can make a move or anything. He's a little bit far back, and obviously Lawrence is getting a lot of pull from the 699 car here. So, well, I keep saying it, the chase is on, and Fischer does need to pick up the pace if he wants to get anywhere in this championship.
Well, this is certainly high drama here. If Abeladze does not finish this race, they will not get points. They are still sitting in pit lane. Now, they could roll around and get some points at the end, but just for a moment, let's say everything ends the way it is right now, Garrett Fischer would be behind Abeladze by 5 points. That's not even that's the difference between finishing first and second. It's not, but I think the difference is like 7 or 8 points. But you get the point. If Fischer was the win and Abeladze was to finish second in a subsequent race after that, we'd have a new championship points leader. Right now, as it stands, as they run, Abeladze would still be your points leader, but only by 5 over Garrett Fischer. And we do have a Verstappen fan in chat as well, cheering on the Chevrolet. And, well, they were back to 11th, and they've already gained 2 spots. So climbing up the ranks is the Chevrolet as well. But Garrett Fischer would still be second in that championship by only 5 points. Abeladze had a 45-point cushion. We talked about it. We were looking at the standings. A 45-point cushion was pretty mega. But it is all gone now.
Yes, it is sad that he's retired to the pit lane. He is going to lose that entire point advantage. Fischer as well, I wouldn't count him out just yet. He has been catching on Calandrino, albeit very slightly, but he is going to be looking to make up those final 5 points in this race. If he can't do it this race, he will be trying to, as you say, beat Abeladze out in the next race, because that will be enough to make the difference in his favour. But I believe we just had another retiree. P. Roberts has just pulled into the pit lane as well. I don't know if he's planning on coming back out, but it doesn't seem like it. So 2 retirees in the race with not a lot of indications as to why, as we see Mulholland. This is going off the circuit completely, and it looks like he's going to be able to slot himself in. But where is he? He's just sort of in the middle of nowhere there. I can't see any track there, it seems to be, and he's managed to find his way back on. But, I mean, for a second, all you could see was green. I mean, that's not where you want to be.
I'm not sure they do rally exhibition at Snetterton. I think they do that sort of a bit north of here. I don't think they actually do that at the circuit, but that was certainly a rally. What I'm assuming is they missed the chicane, because that was at the end of the back straight there. And being told that there was actually contact there that sent them, that makes sense. But the 777 of Mulholland getting sent, as it turns out.
And Abeladze has now left the session as well, so I'm starting to wonder if maybe he pitted because he was having some sort of connection issues.
Oh my goodness.
But
Abeladze is not going to get points today. If Garrett Fischer gets any more positions, we could be, after race 1, we could have a new championship leader. Will Abeladze reconnect and come back for race 2? Oh my goodness. Could you, Tim, I'm sorry, I'm trying to process this. Let's take a step back. Could you imagine dominating in the way that Abeladze has had and in one race losing it all. That's just bitter.
It's a really rough moment, and I am sure he's not going to be going to bed happy tonight with this result. I mean, even if race 2, even if he does manage to come back and do really well, he is going to be kicking himself for this. It's just so rough, it's so bitter that you go from leading the championship by 40 odd points and you just lose it all completely in one race, and it's all because of a corner he's messed up on his own as well. He can't blame anyone for hitting him off. It's not like he got caught up in all of the accidents that we've seen at some of the other tracks, so he's definitely going to hold this one against himself. But what he needs to do now is he needs to come back, and he needs to come back and start biting hard. He needs to come back and get back to winning those races, because Fisher right now is looking in a very good position. He isn't catching Calandrino anymore, so Abeladze will still be leading the championship if we finish like this, but it's not an ideal weekend so far for Abeladze. And I mean, I don't know this for a fact, but a disconnect is a pretty good indication that he may not be coming back today.
I'm with you. I have to wonder if Abeladze was having an issue. That was such a bizarre mistake to completely overrun the corner and then to spin out trying to get back onto the racing circuit. That's not what we've seen out of the championship leader at all this season. So I wonder if maybe there was some sort of issue, potentially hardware related, that has caused them this grief. Speaking of causing grief, towards Zillow, who was nearly 2 seconds behind Mikowski earlier, well, he's caught all the way back up in the past 10 minutes. He is right there. It is only that much between the two of them. And if these two get to racing, Chris Rubliar will be right up in the mix as well. How many times have we seen Rubliar in the 17 take advantage of others? And could be that way again today. Mikowski would love to have a win in the series, but, well, so would Torzillo.
I think so would Rubliar, to be fair. All three of them are going to be gunning for it, and you can't even count out Boardman, who is really close to Rubliar as well in 4th. So there's not a lot splitting up this top 4 right now. If something happens between the two at the front, then Rubliar will be coming through and Boardman will be right up close behind. And, well, if qualifying is any indication, we know that Boardman is fast here at Snetterton. So Torzidlo, he's got to get through Mikowski here if he wants to take first place, and Mikowski is going to be very desperate to defend it, because despite having some great performances so far, he's not been able to bring home a race win yet. So he's probably on his A game right now, really trying to defend here as Torzillo is going to look for a way through. He can't quite find one, it seems, and he's going to keep looking. But that BMW, it will have the pace advantage on the straight, so all he needs is a brilliant final corner, or even a brilliant corner here in a minute. He's going to go around Williams, and if he can get a better exit out of Williams, he might be looking at an overtake here. So the BMW has its advantages. Luckily for Mikowski, the Aston Martin is a lot better through the corners themselves, so he does need to put that little bit of distance towards Idlo if he wants to keep him away on the straight there.
I love this. We've got Zeman in chat cheering on Joseph Varga, saying, come on, we want that top 10 for 21. And, well, they're not too far behind the 221. They're only a few seconds off of that spot. So, of course, if Tom Bryant makes that move on Sarka, so could Varga as well. Meanwhile, we stay up front towards Zillow, trying to find and probe for weakness in Mikowski. And that is what you're doing, Tim Peck. You're probing for weakness. You're trying to find where you're better than him. And certainly you're not doing that by driving off the track like towards Zillow just did. You have to keep it on the island. You have to be mindful that there could be a penalty here for exceeding track limits. You get 3 warnings, and then ACC gives you a drive-through penalty. And yes, I said that because I have to cover the bases, because the way that they're racing, it's inevitable.
And I was actually starting to snicker there, because if we take you back a couple of weeks to Zolder, what was the situation? Well, you had Abeladze up in front with Torzidlo right behind him, and what happened? Torzidlo, within the final 3 minutes, handed himself a drive-through penalty for track limits. So he is definitely not going to want to have a repeat of that today. And, well, we have seen how it's happened before with Torzidlo, so he's going to want to keep it on track. We have actually watched him go quite wide on a couple of the recent corners as well. So, unfortunately, we can't see how many warnings he has, but we're hoping it's not a lot, because one drive-through, as we know, can end your fight for first place.
Well, it is absolutely on at the top of the podium, and it is absolutely on for the back half of the top 10. We ride aboard Martin Lawrence's Connection Lost Racing AMG. He's got Verstappen in the background at a distance, but he has John Arasser in front of him, and he wants this position, and he's trying to get a run and might just have it here. He doesn't throw it into the corner. He could have, though. But showing Rasser a little bit of respect there. That's Martin Lawrence for you. And meanwhile, up front, Torzillo still hounding the leader. The man who sat on pole, they were side by side going into turn one. And it's been very close. Gap was about 2 seconds at one point. Now, right back on him. Look at him trying to dig to the inside. Torzillo trying to get there. And just any little advantage makes you feel good about your chances here.
And there's just so much speed on that BMW. I mean, he's really coming up behind Mikowski now. It looks like he's going to make a move any second. And what he's going to want to as well. There's only 8 minutes left of this race. It is quite a long time. But in the grand scheme of things, that time is going to disappear. As it looks like he was going to go for the outside there. Doesn't quite find a space to do it, but he's all over Mikowski now.
I love it.
Oh, he's not quite there again, but it's going to happen.
Look at the background. Look at the mirror. Look at the mirror. Oh, Chris Rubliar and Andy Boardman were almost side by side there for a second. I just happened to look up in the mirror, and Andy Boardman sent it down the inside of Rubliar. Didn't come off, no contact, but an excellent job. They're fighting for the last podium position. They're fighting for the win. They're fighting for 8th. And by the way, Verstappen, who was about 6 or 7 car lengths back, is now halved that gap. He's Martin Lawrence's biggest fan right now. He goes, go on, Martin, get in there.
And I believe Martin Lawrence is still behind a racer here, but both of them have been really battling out. It looks like, well, a very close battle, and it looks like Lawrence is going to get the better end of the stick here if he can just find that little bit of space. We've seen him a couple of times try to duck to the inside, and it's not quite worked. So Verstappen is now, of course, part of the mix as well, and he will be looking to capitalise off this as he follows around the corner. It looks like he's lost a bit of grip there, but not enough to quite fall back. Verstappen needs to keep it together. We have seen his consistency. It is good, but he does have a tendency to start sliding around, especially in these last sort of sections of the race here. So he's going to try and keep it together. He's right there with Lawrence in the race. If one thing happens between them, Verstappen will be there to capitalise off it. And Torzillo's actually fallen back on Mikowski now, and Rubliar is now in range of Torzillo to strike for maybe second place. So, I mean, it's all changing at the front. We saw how Rubliar was fighting Boardman. Now Rubliar is fighting Torzillo, and it looks like he's going to make a move any second now, maybe at the end of the straight.
BMW is just destroying down the front straightaway. Torzillo survives. You have to wonder how they got back here in the first place, losing all that time, a little bit off the track perhaps, a little bit off of line. That's all you need to do to lose all of that time. Meanwhile, Mikowski is looking, I know this, we'll be looking at that clock up in the top. It will be counting down the seconds. It is agony, and we'll be hoping that Torzillo gets a big challenge by Rubliar here, because the last thing that Mikowski wants is the 373 back on his bumper. But right now, it is off between the two of them. Mikowski leads fairly comfortably, you could argue. Torzillo and Rubliar right there for second place, and Boardman not far off. Boardman will still be fuming from what could have been, what should have been a clear lead, and got removed from that position. Running right again was Torzillo there. Maybe the handling somehow going away here. 5.5 minutes left to go. A lot of storylines here. Torzillo not involved in the championship conversation, has missed several races this season, is purely going for glory, has one podium to their name, but beyond that, it has been pretty bleak. Mikowski has a couple of podiums, but no wins, trying to prove that they can and should win this championship today. And they could definitely put their name in the hat, especially with Abeladze not finishing the race. They will not get points, and Fisher will get 40 points for 6th place, meaning that the championship lead will be cut to 5. at the end of this race. And if you had any plans for the next 40 minutes, just cancel them because you know you're going to want to watch race 2 with us.
I totally agree. It looks like Calandrino has fallen back slightly off the train, but there is a train building behind this BMW right now as 2 Porsches and an Audi are trying to find their way through currently. Torzidlo has fallen back 1.8 seconds. Doesn't look like he's going to be gaining it on Mikowski anytime soon. So all Mikowski has to do now is drive to the end. And as you say, he will be watching that clock. Every second that ticks down is another sigh of relief for Mikowski, who just needs to make it to the end here. And he doesn't need to keep the gap, but it would certainly help as we see the train comes through the middle section of the track now. Boardman looking very close to Roubliard right now and is probably wanting his pole position back. Not going to get it, I imagine, in the next 3 minutes. He can certainly try to, but Boardman is definitely looking to make a big impact in race 2. He will be again starting on pole because remember that the qualifying will determine the grid. This race has no impact on the grid for race 2, so Boardman will have another chance to bring it home for the Porsche team there. So a very close race we've got here. Anything can go wrong at any minute, and as we have mentioned briefly before, a drive-through could completely switch up this, and Fischer is probably waiting for one to happen. I mean, that would put him possibly in the lead, maybe a little bit less in the points back from Roladze, but a very tight championship battle right now.
Well, it's this simple. If Fischer was to finish 5th, they would be 1 point behind in the championship. If they finished any higher than that, obviously they would be in the lead. Boardman looking for a move, looking to salvage race 1 here and get back on the podium. I don't think Andy Boardman would be too shy about sending it in the final couple of minutes if the opportunity came to him. Torzillo has gained 4 tenths of a second. They will have 2 more laps to go this time by. So if they can pick it up a little bit, they might be able to get back to Mikowski and take one final shot as Torzillo, whatever put them back in that position, well, they are now trending in the positive direction again. Down the field, Lawrence still trying to get by Rasser for the 7th place position. Verstappen still waiting patiently in 9th to get a position as well. Joseph Varga has dropped a few positions, and now Jordan Daly has gained some time. Jordan Daly off track. That's actually Tom Bryant has lost time. That's Tom Bryant in the 42 that's behind him. All these BMWs are painted the same for the Triple R team. So Tom Bryant has went off, and his identically painted teammate Jordan Daly has benefited.
Probably a great thing for them, but a pain for us up here in the commentator area. So these cars, they all race for Triple R Academy, of course, and definitely trying to fight their way into the top 10 right now. Tom Bryant was almost there. He was right up close behind Zarco and couldn't quite make it through and has dropped back now. So Daly is the one who is going to be the one to make the next move to try and get into that top 10. Towards Zidlo, the pace he has. As we see, Verstappen actually looks like he was about to make a move and has decided against it on Lawrence. He's in that tight spot where there's not a lot of track, and, you know, if you do make a move there, you're probably going to regret it. So Verstappen will be sitting back in 9th for another day. He's going to try and make a move in the next minute, it seems, as towards Zidlo. Oh, we've got a race replay of what's happened with Fischer here. Oh, no, I think Fischer's actually... So let's see what happens with Fischer.
Alone on the straightaway here. I don't know what to... I think
he's in 5th.
Yeah, Roubliard's in 6th place. Garrett Fischer's moved up, so something has happened to Roubliard. Was that a move maybe? As within 1 second, as Torzillo on the lead. Bart Macha says, "Oh goody, teammates battling for the win here." And also one other coming in from Sala. Good afternoon, everyone from Vero Beach, Florida. Let's go Audi Boy Kings. I hear you.
I think something must have happened there, whether it involved Fischer, whether it was just Roubliard alone. He has fallen back. He's 5 seconds behind Fischer, so that wasn't just a move that happened quickly when we weren't watching. Something has happened to Roubliard there, and It sounds like from our broadcaster that he did just make a
Oh,
mistake.
he's
As
done it!
Verstappen has passed through Lawrence, so he is now in the top 8. He will probably not be getting anywhere further than that because we are on the final lap of the race now. But Verstappen, he has been fighting for that for the last 20 minutes, and he's finally found a way through here as we do watch
Get
it
in
on the
there, son.
screen. He is going to be so happy to finally make it through.
And his fans will also be happy about that as well. And again, why are we so happy about that? Well, that's more points for him in the championship, and it's looking like it is going to be a three-way battle. We'll have to see if Abeladze reconnects, but if it's not, it's going to be a two-way battle between Fisher and Verstappen. So those points will matter. By the way, Garrett Fisher in 5th place, 1 point difference in the championship. Abeladze will lead by 1 point, but Mikowski is going to survive and get the first win of season 4 for himself in the 570 Aston. It was a crazy race and a well-deserved victory, you have to say. Torzillo, a valiant effort in the 373, will be second, and Boardman will salvage a little bit of race 1 after starting on pole and get a podium in the 69. One has to wonder, how much more hardship does the 69 have to endure before they finally break through? Calandrino all the way up into 4th place. Fisher 1 point behind the championship. In 5th place, Rubliar, Rasser, Verstappen, Lawrence, Sarka, the top 10. Daly, Varga, Bryant, Svenchek, McConnell, Crozen at Pimlott, Chamberlain, Mahalan, the 300 BMW, the 225, the 579, and the 47 were the finishers. In fact, we only had 20 finishers in the race. Some of those were DNFs. My word, what a race 1. Tim Peck, there's no way race 2 is A, that clean, and B, that good. That was, you like drama in racing, folks? Well, we're living downtown there right now.
I have to say, I think Boardman is going to have a very good race too. It's just, you say he's been having all this hardship, and he has, but it's going to come, and I reckon it's going to come in race 2. I said there were no dominant cars here. I will slightly go back on that. 3 Porsches in this race, all 3 were in the top 10, and not all 3 started in the top 10, so the Porsche is looking like a very good car, and it is, of course, the car that Boardman is driving right now, so he'll be back on pole. He'll be where he wants to be. He just needs to hold it. And without picking a favourite, I think he can do it. I think he will be able to hold them off for this race. But of course, we will see coming into race 2 here. Fisher returns to 2nd place. Mikowski will start 3rd, and Torzillo will start 4th. Rubliar will, of course, start 5th. Calandrino will be 6th. Eraser will be 7th. Martin Lorenz will be 8th. Verstappen back into 9th. And Svenchik will round out the top 10. All back in their respective places where they qualified. I think it's going to be an exciting race too, but I do agree. I'm not sure how much clean racing we're going to see from now on. Everyone's going to be fighting for those positions. Fisher has a lot to live up to now. He needs to gain a lot of points to stay ahead of Verstappen. Verstappen is going to want to fight through that field. He needs to gain a lot of points if he wants to catch up to Fisher. And Boardman is, of course, just going to want to stay ahead. So I think we've got a very exciting race 2 on our hands. And personally, I cannot wait to see the outcome of it.
Well, you got a lot of unhappy Triple R drivers in chat. That race didn't go their way. You got an unhappy Carlos who still hates Snetterton. And you've got a frustrated Andy Boardman who barely clawed back. By the way, that's Andy Boardman's first podium. How frustrating of a season has it been for the driver of the 69 Porsche? No, up until that podium right there, had no podiums, had a ton of penalty points during the season, but no fastest laps, no poles, no wins, nothing. And finally, a 1 in the podium column, but we'll be looking for a little bit more. And folks, I made a mistake a few moments ago about Fisher and how close the points are. He is actually 4 points behind now. I've redone the maths, and he is 4 points behind Abeladze for the championship lead. And it's Abeladze, Fisher, and Verstappen, your top 3. They're all separated by, get this, less than 10 points. The stakes are absolutely sky high for race 2, folks. You are not going to want to go anywhere. And in the interim, let's talk about all of our partners that make this race and every race possible. First time, Carlos, I'm not saying your surname. You cannot trick me into doing that. Big thank you to Race Department, AK Informatica, Driver 61, Fanatec, and Sim Racing GP. You can get 25% off your driver coaching by using our discount code at Driver 61. Driver coaching will make you a better driver. You can take that to the bank. Thank you to Fanatec, and feel free to use our affiliate link in the description. It doesn't cost you anything, and it helps us out with things like server cost and helps us bring more racing action to you. I am a very out of breath Jesse Lee here with Tim Peck and Christian Stricker, bringing you all the action here from Snetterton, and what an action-packed day it has been. Qualifying was very close. Race 1 was exciting. Race 2, probably going to be more of the same. I can't wait. I can't believe what I'm about to say. I can't wait for a race here at Snetterton. It's been amazing.
It has been brilliant so far, but I can't help but notice that Abeladze has not returned, so he will not be starting this race too, which does make Fisher, if he can finish this race where he is right now, or to be honest, if he can finish this race probably all the way down in 20th, he will be the championship leader ahead of Verstappen. So a good day for Fisher so far. He's done very well in race 1. Despite falling back quite early on, luck was on his side, and Abeladze fell back even further and has left, I imagine, from a disconnect, because, I mean, if you're the championship leader, you would want to still be fighting this, and it was not all over. So I imagine that was a disconnect there, but Fisher is now in a very good place and will be very happy. Honestly, obviously you want the win, but I'm not sure he really needs to do too much to really go out of his way to push for it. Obviously a win would be lovely, and he will be pushing for that win, but if Boardman is very on that defence, I don't think Fisher should waste his potential championship position trying to do a risky move to push his way through. I think we'll see him being a lot more careful this race, and well, that's all he needs to do really, as we are just coming around the second sector now. We'll be on the back straight. All the cars are just on their warm-up laps, so race 2, there's a lot in store for it. Verstappen, I think, needs to climb that little bit more. Obviously, he had a very good race last race, but he did only gain 1 position in the end. So there's a lot to do here. Verstappen needs to climb if he wants to stay with Fisher. Fisher needs to stay there and, well, just bring it home, really. And I do think it's going to be very exciting race 2. I will admit, it's weird to say, but this Snetterton has turned out to be fantastic so far.
I've been told by a couple of drivers and broadcasters that GT4s here is actually very exciting, including our broadcaster today, Christian. And I had never participated on a GT4 broadcast here, and I gotta say, it's been absolutely fantastic. You pretty much summed up what I was gonna say, Tim Peck. Andy Boardman, no fault of his own, lost the lead in race 1. Was able to claw back a podium spot. Well, for him, it's got to be just keep it on the tarmac and just get out in front. Just get a second lead. That's all you need, a second lead, and get comfortable. I think Boardman proved with his return to third, the 69 Porsche has the pace to win this race. So as we get ready to take the hard left turn onto the front straightaway as they go 2 by 2 one more time, Tim Peck, take it away.
And they're coming onto the start-finish straight now. Boardman will be looking to have a much better start than he did last time, of course. Struggled a little bit that first corner. Abeladze also struggled a lot at that first corner, and Fisher managed to fight his way up there and keep himself in second place. So a lot is at stake here as we're just approaching the line now. We've got a really long start-finish straight here, so there's a lot of suspense building as the cars slowly approach the start-finish line. And I mean, I don't know who's going to get the better of the stick. Mikowski had a very good start last time, but it doesn't look like it's this good this time as Torzidlo is managing to push his way through. He is going to be ahead of Mikowski going to the first corner, and he doesn't manage to hold on the outside as Fisher actually makes contact with Boardman and has gone wide. It looks like he's not going to be able to slow himself back in either, as Boardman manages to keep the lead, and Mikowski has spun out Fisher. Not Fisher, Torzidlo. Torzidlo is going to rejoin the track, and it looks like there's going to be a bit of chaos. It doesn't look like anyone else has been spun out as Torzidlo manages to hold the brakes right in the middle of the track there, but oh, Fisher has made contact with the cast 221. I believe that is Vargas. So that is not the start that either of those two wanted. Fisher and Torzillo will now be at the back of this race.
Boys, girls, folks of all orientations around the world, your championship leader is the Chevrolet of all cars and manufacturers and people. Verstappen is leading this championship. He doesn't care about that right now, but I care about it. Unbelievable.
Oh, Verstappen is going to be over the moon when he sees what has happened there. It looks like he's managed to put himself up there in 7th place as well. So already a brilliant start for Verstappen, as Boardman has managed to hold on to 1st place as well. Mikowski is closing in behind him, and we know that Mikowski has a lot of pace here. He obviously won last race, and already he's looking for that move down the inside. But what a race start, and you called it a lot more chaos than race 1. Granted, I think it could have been worse. I mean,
he's going wide!
He's gone wide, and he's made contact with the 08 car there, and Schwenschik and Verstappen. There's a lot going on between them right now. Verstappen managed to stay ahead.
I'm going to say, I don't know how safe a rejoin that was. Off in the background, is that Phil Roberts? That's Phil Roberts off in the background, who's completely missed the car.
No!
Oh, and more contact there. Who was that? Was that Daly? That was Daly in the final turn contact. And what I was going to say is, I don't know, because again, all stewarding's done post-race, folks. I don't know if they're going to appreciate Verstappen's rejoin there. I don't know if he did anything particularly wrong, but I'm not a steward today. I'm a broadcaster, and if I'm honest, I'm a fan. What a crazy race. And it's always like that. You'll have one race that's relatively calm, and then you'll have another race that's absolute chaos. Today, race 2 was absolute chaos. Torzillo in the back of the field. Mikowski survives in 2nd place, stalking Andy Boardman, who I imagine will be the hardest driver in the world to pass. Rubliar looking to the inside, maybe a little bit of a nudge there for 2nd place, and that's doing nothing but helping Andy Boardman, who has for once survived the start of a race and has the best possible position. Folks, if you're just joining us, you're going to want to rewind a little bit. Verstappen is your championship leader as they run. Can you believe it? We've had 3 championship leaders in 45 minutes, Tim.
I mean, we've had 3 championship leaders in the past 20 minutes. There's been a roller coaster of emotions so far, as Boardman has still not managed to make a gap for himself here, and Mikowski is ready to strike, Rubliar is ready to strike, Eraser is ready to strike, and Lawrence is ready to strike. So the top 5 are all really close to each other, and every single one of them is trying to find a position. We've seen Rubliar has tried to make a couple of moves on Mikowski so far. Mikowski has been all over the track trying to defend from Rubliar, and that has allowed Boardman to get himself an 8/10 of a second lead. But well, if anyone's going to be able to catch back up, it is Mikowski, who's been doing so well here so far, as we see Lawrence now trying to find a way through a race, and it looks like they're going to almost make contact as Lawrence is going right in this corner, and Eraser is managing to just about hold on to it, but so much is happening, and there's so many fights going on right now.
Martin Lawrence thought about going around the outside of the final turn. Folks, you don't go around the outside in the final turn, but he definitely tried it there. Oh my goodness. We're talking about Verstappen, about how they were able to make some hay as Martin Lawrence goes off the track there for a moment. Verstappen was just able to make hay when everybody else was losing their minds in front of him. Verstappen just drove his Chevrolet further up into the field. I wonder if he knows he's the championship leader right now. I don't think he does.
He probably doesn't expect it. I mean, he's sitting in 7th place, which admittedly is not where you'd thought a championship leader would be, but he does have that good point seed right now. Fisher is all the way down in 15th, so he is climbing back up. I mean, it wasn't that long ago I looked and he was down in 19th, so Fisher's finding those places, but I'm not sure if he is going to be able to find them fast enough. Verstappen sits in 7th place, is the championship leader, and there is now a significant gap as we now
so
cut
this was
to
the initial start. Yeah, it was initial start. Garrett Fisher goes off the track, contact with Boardman, and he just gets spun there. The BMW gets spun, no room to move, and I mean, Tim, there's just a barrier there. It spits you back on track.
I don't know which car it was, but that yellow car, how does he avoid Torzillo there? I mean, obviously it's not Torzillo's fault. He held his brakes, he did everything he had to do, but he was right in the middle of the track. I thought for sure there was going to be a pile up and a lot of contact, but every single car managed to find a way through there, and I mean, you have to hand it to them all, really. I mean, we've seen some dodgy outcomes in the past few races, and that is the best outcome you can have from a car hitting a wall and jumping back onto the track. But Mikowski's having a great race so far. Boardman's gone a little bit wide, so he is going to try and catch up on that as we go onto the start-finish straight. This is a long straight here, so the Aston Martin may be able to get in the Porsche, but it doesn't look like he's going to quite have the top speed to do it. The Porsche will be able to stay ahead, but Mikowski will probably pick up some penalty points for spinning out Todd Zidlow there.
Well, I mean, that all depends as the battle for the lead's on, and as predicted, Andy Boardman going completely defensive there, and that's what you expect. It's as advertised from a driver such as Andy Boardman, who has just had pitiful luck. Speaking of pitiful luck, we haven't talked too much about the 17 of Chris Rubliar, but again, other than the one fast lap to their name, they've not had a single podium. You'll remember at Donington, they had a great run of it, but ended up getting spun out, creating a big pileup. They were a part of that backwards in that pileup in Forest Elbow. So just absolutely no luck for Chris Rubliar either, and it continued today as well, but it could be a podium coming up.
And I believe, you may need to correct me here, but I believe that will be his first podium as well. He's always been sitting on it for the first 10 minutes of each race, and every single time he gets caught up in an accident, something goes wrong, and he does drop back there a little bit. So I'm sure he will be happy to just be able to bring home that podium today as long as he can keep it here. He has managed to give himself a 1 second gap to a racer who has dropped back to fourth place. He is 1.5 seconds behind, but Mikowski is looking for a way through Boardman still, and Boardman is just about holding on, but Mikowski is looking for it, and he's going to get it soon if Boardman does not manage to put a little bit of distance between these two. I mean, Mikowski is every single corner. He's looking for that dive bomb. He's trying to find the inside or even the outside line as we come around into the final corner right now. Will Mikowski be able to get the exit he needs in order to catch up with Boardman on the straight here? It doesn't look like he's quite going to do it, although Boardman does lose a little bit of grip there, so Mikowski is in a perfect striking place, and you can see just how effective the slipstream is here. It's really pulling Mikowski along, but it's not quite going to be enough as he dips to the inside, and he will dip back, I imagine, before the corner, but Mikowski is going for it.
Folks, what you're looking at here is two drivers that have nothing to lose. It is still possible for Mikowski to win this championship with a couple of rounds left. Technically speaking, it's possible for Andy Boardman as well, as Chris Rubliar gets as close as you like to the rear camera of the 570 Aston, but the point I'm making is Boardman and Mikowski, they have absolutely nothing to lose here today. They are going to be throwing it all on the line. Rubliar, you can throw him into that as well. It's not the same story for the likes of Verstappen and, of course, Fisher, who are fighting for something here. The only thing these top three drivers are fighting for is pride and trophies. They're going trophy hunting here today, and if you think Mikowski is above giving Andy Boardman a little nudge, I'd think about that again. Ask yourself at home, what would you do to win a race on the pro level?
And as you said, these GT4s obviously do get very close to each other, and a lot of the time will be pushing each other around. It is a benefit of the GT4. It's just got that little bit of extra sustainability, and they do tend to really scrape each other through the corners here. But speaking of people with nothing to lose, Todd Zidlow, who we have mentioned, is not in the fight for the championship, but is a very fast driver, has retired himself to the pit lane, clearly decided that this is not the race for him, and will be, I believe, our fourth retiree of today. But a brilliant effort from him in the first race. Sadly, the second race didn't quite go his way, and he was spun out, but Todd Zidlow gave it his all, and he is now retired to the pit lane. As we see, Fisher is very close to Tom Bryant right now, still trying to climb through, and honestly, it's not out of the question here for him to stay in a very close points range to Verstappen, which is what he's going to want to do. He came into this race almost guaranteed to be the championship leader. I mean, I said all he had to do was try and hold second. He didn't have to do any dodgy moves. As we see him now, he is right behind Tom Bryant, and it looks like he might be able to get some slipstream coming to the first corner, although he is a bit far back. Of course, the BMW is just so powerful in those straights. But
look at the damage on that splitter, Tim.
It's not ideal, but we were saying there's a lot of people here who have nothing to lose. Boardman and Mikowski up front, just in it for the pride of the podium and the pride of the victory. Fisher had everything to lose here, and it's sad to say, but he's lost it. Verstappen will be leading this championship. all the way up there in 7th compared to Fisher, who is currently just trying to get himself into 14th place through Tom Bryant. And so far, not having any luck. Tom Bryant managing to successfully hold Fisher off in these corners, despite Fisher's immense pace here at Snetterton.
Here's the thing. If Fisher wants a shot at the championship with Verstappen, because I don't think Abeladze is going to be part of this anymore after today. 2 races not scoring points, that's going to be a 120-point deficit. I don't think a 45-point deficit that Fisher and Verstappen had is surmountable. I don't think 120 points is, with a few rounds left to go. So this will be between Verstappen and Fisher. And if Fisher wants to have a say in it, they're going to have to claw back some of these positions here. They're going to have to get the elbows out and go to work here, because otherwise, Verstappen, even though they've not had those highlight moments a lot of the time in the 747, it doesn't matter. They've been consistent in a balk there. A big old balk. Was that Calandrino there? It was.
Oh, it looked like Calandrino has just completely shoved Lawrence through and almost getting a racer caught up in it as well. But Lawrence, it looked like he had a racer on the inside of that corner there. He dropped back. He broke a lot early in the race, and that did mean that Calandrino gave him a nice, nasty shove up the rear there. So obviously not an ideal situation for either of them there. And Calandrino may have picked up quite a little bonnet damage there. So Verstappen possibly in a good place to catch up now and maybe take Calandrino and Lawrence. That would put him in 5th. That would give him a nice lot of points, which would then give him a good bit of distance to Fisher. So Verstappen really has been that fan favourite throughout this championship. I mean, he started out strong. Svenschik is coming up on Verstappen now. Actually, it looks like Svenschik's interested to make a move on to Verstappen as we see him now. Oh, he's passed him, actually. Verstappen is down in 8th place. So Svenschik, despite not being in the championship, wants to show that he does have what it takes to fight the championship leader. But Verstappen's done brilliantly since the beginning. He's always been there on the podium, and obviously being in the Chevrolet of all cars, absolutely a fan favourite here in this championship.
Which is really funny, because I think as an American, we don't really, we think the Camaro looks, I mean, it is a bit daft, isn't it? It's a bit silly looking, but I think most Americans, we much prefer some of the other manufacturers. I know Lexus is a big one here in America that for whatever reason we love as a race car because it is so abstract, but Europe loves the Camaro at any chance. It's such a fantastic car, and of course it's sort of a dark horse pick, and Verstappen has been able to qualify well with it a lot of times. And even when Verstappen hasn't been able to do that, it's still been a top 10 sort of day, and Svenschik getting around them there, still 8th place. All that does, though, is alarm bells don't need to be going off for Verstappen. Everything's fine. You're in 8th place. You're doing well. But that does help Fisher. So that's 3 to 5 points that Verstappen loses that Fisher gains. And Fisher didn't have to do anything to get those points. And, well, free points are always really good because it's free. Who's going to argue with free?
Exactly, and Fisher, speaking of him, has just found his way through Tom Bryant as well, so he's up into 14th, and that is even more points going Fisher's way. So he's got a bit of a recovery drive to do, and especially if he wants to stay with Verstappen in this championship, but he is starting to climb a lot better. And Daly is coming through on McConnell right now. It looks like he might have made the move, and he is on the outside, and he will be pulling away, and Crozen looks like he actually might be able to make a move soon as well, but Crozen's a little bit far back. Daly round the outside has made the move stick on McConnell, I believe.
Well, I know Jake the Bosmeister Boswell, who's out with a back injury, will be coaching on the rest of the Triple R guys, and he would have been saying exactly what I was saying. Do not hit your teammate.
Do not hit your teammate, indeed. That would have not been an ideal situation.
Go get him. Go get him, but don't hit him.
Exactly. Crozen, he's right there. He's definitely going to want to be getting through that teammate. So Daly, whilst he is going through the teammate there, doesn't want to hold up McConnell so much that Crozen then capitalizes as well. So the Triple R guys working a little bit together there, but obviously Daly was getting a much better end of the stick. And of course, probably not team orders. Absolutely would have been race to your heart's content here as Crozen dips to the inside, but will not be able to find a way through. McConnell, he needs to get a bit of a go on, because Crozen in that BMW is going to be fast, and he is looking for that move, as Fisher is a little bit far back on them now, so Fisher's probably not in that fight yet, but we'll be happy to see that they're fighting. That may give him a chance to catch up, and Fisher is going to be looking for that place too soon.
Chris Lubauer looking down to the inside, just faking there. Can't quite get it done. And by the way, Andy Boardman is gone. And I have a feeling it has something to do with Mikowski not so much fading, but being under constant pressure from Chris Rubliar in the Audi. As the battle for second place heats up, Andy Boardman has the biggest lead we've seen all weekend. And it's only 2.2 seconds. That tells you how close the racing has been. Well, with qualifying being 2/100ths of a second, you had to imagine the racing was going to be electric, and it has been. But for Andy Boardman, on his way, 14 minutes, actually 13 minutes, 40-some seconds away from victory here, and what I'm going to refer to as the road to redemption for Boardman in the 69. Rubliar looking to do one better for second, and Mikowski looking to hold station. Of course, Mikowski's in his own fight with Minnow Crozen for what will be third in the championship now, Tim Peck. So with Abeladze's retirement from both races today will score no points. A new challenger for third place. That is between Mikowski and Minnow Crozen, as this whole season has been blown apart. Fabio Calandrino here looking to make up a spot on Martin Lawrence, who's trying to get into fourth place with the Rasser in the 699, and they're just far enough apart that no move can be made. Torzillo still in the pit lane, looking like they will take no further part. 5 laps down. Varga, the last car running in 18th at the time being. What a weekend it's been. What a race it's been, folks. If you love GT4 racing, this race has had a little bit of everything for you. And we're looking at the big Chevy, the Verstappen Motorsports 747, who is, as they run, your championship leader. Leave a like, subscribe, hit the bell for more GT racing action. We've got GT3s and GT4s here on the channel. It has, hands down, Tim, been the best weekend, or the best GT4, or the best Snetterton racing I've ever seen, as Minnow Crozen trying to get the position away from the 23. Actually, no.
McConnell.
Oh, that is McConnell. No, that, yeah. So what happened? Did somebody in front of them lose a spot, I wonder?
I think Crozen has managed to fight his way through McConnell there, although I believe Daly actually fought his way through McConnell as well. So Daly has fallen all the way back to 15th as Crozen finally finds the move that he wants to on McConnell, and he has managed to fight through there. Fisher as well, I said it, he has caught up, and he too will be looking for a way through McConnell. So a lot of positions up for grabs here. I wonder what happened with Daly. He has fallen back quite drastically as well. He's all the way down behind Pimlott, who is 5 seconds behind that main pack. So a lot has gone wrong here at Snetterton for some people, and it looks like a lot of people have been struggling with the corners, as Fisher is now looking to make the move on McConnell. He's going for the inside, and it's not going to be there for him as McConnell shuts the door, but he's still there looking for the inside, and it looks like he's the much better acceleration coming out of that corner. So onto the long straight here, Fisher will be looking to make the move, and he's still on the inside. I expect this is going to be the move done and dusted, as we just try to see what happens coming out through the chicane here, and it looks like Fisher's got the much better.
You don't want to do this, boys. You don't want to do this.
McConnell has gone wide. He's picked up a lot of dirt, and Fisher will be through. How dirty that was, I do not know, but that was very close racing from the two of them there.
I think McConnell just sort of, I think McConnell just gave it to him. I don't think there was contact between the two of them. At least it didn't appear like that on our TV cameras that we have, but McConnell going extra wide, didn't want to get bounced off the track, and that's a fair assessment from Nathan McConnell there. And position gained for Crozen. Or excuse me, Fisher rather. But we go back inside the top 5. Martin Lawrence still looking for fourth place from Arasser in the 699. And of course, Calandrino would like to get by both of them for a top 5 position here today. As you gotta say, Mikowski is closing back in on Boardman. It was 2.2 seconds a lap ago. It's 1.5 now. You don't have to be a mathematician to know that at that current pace, Mikowski would catch back up to our leader, Andy Boardman.
And Fisher is doing such a good job here. It looks like he's closing in on Crozen as well, so he's going to be looking through as Lawrence also is still trying to find that move on a racer, but Mikowski has fallen back to Boardman. We said Boardman has not been having a good championship so far. He's just keeps getting so unlucky, but this looks like if he can just keep the pace up and hold it together, he will bring home his first race win of the season. And I don't think you can be very upset with that. I mean, we've had Mikowski win the first race. If Boardman wins the second race, that is 2 brand new winners here at Snetterton. So not only has it been such a brilliant race here at Snetterton, it's also been a brilliant race in the championship, and it's completely changed everything. We will walk out of this with not only a new championship leader, but 2 new race winners. So a lot has happened here today at Snetterton, people, and if you have got any friends that have not been able to tune in today, I definitely recommend telling them to come and watch the replay, because this has been a pinnacle event for the championship.
Well, we're going to be at Zandvoort on October 7th. Myself, Tim Peck, and Christian with you on that broadcast as well. The continuation of Season 4 GT4. And if it's anything like it is today, and I reckon it might be at a very close, tight quarters confines that you find at Zandvoort, it's going to be action-packed as well. We hope that you will join us in 1 week's time for Zandvoort. It's going to be crazy, Tim. Can you imagine if they're racing like this on a track that's this wide? Imagine if you have you had a couple more turns in there, a couple more blind turns. You have the width as well. They're going to be absolutely all over each other.
Yes, I think Zandvoort is going to be a very exciting circuit. Obviously, a lot more turns and a little bit more width, but still very tight and very, very blind. So it will be very interesting to see how that one pans out, as Fisher here is right behind Crozen. It looks like he's going to make a move any minute now. And based on how easy he's made it look against people like McConnell and Pimlott, it could be quite easy again, as Fisher is just all over Crozen right now. He's hanging back as we come through Sector 2. It's a little bit difficult, but it looks like he's making a move on the inside. He's not quite going to find anything. He picks up a little bit too much dirt on that corner. Coming onto the straight here, I think Crozen in the BMW will be able to pull away, give himself a little bit of distance, but Fisher is ready to strike, and he will be striking at any moment as he's trying to close that gap as much as possible to Verstappen. They're only 4 places away from each other. I mean, I thought Fisher was going to come out of this race with a huge championship gap. Then he fell back, and I thought Verstappen was going to come out of the race with a huge championship gap. Now I'm thinking there's not going to be a championship gap. They are just going to be fighting. So both drivers have had a little bit of misfortune here. Verstappen is going to want to start climbing if he needs to get away from Fisher, because Fisher is having a dream race at the back so far.
I just want to give a call to Christian real quick. There's a lot of stuff going on, and coping with it well. Was ill a week ago and did a great job back with us at Strength. And absolutely, our broadcaster needed it this week. Action all over the place. And my goodness, it's not over yet. 1.1 seconds the gap, and that is not a comfortable lead for Andy Boardman up front. And like you said, Tim, we thought Verstappen was 7th, and of course Fisher was 17th. And we thought, oh, it's going to be a decent gap for the 747. Well, it's still going to exist, but it isn't going to be massive at all. One slip next week at Zandvoort, and it's going to swing massively in one direction or another. And of course, the format stays the same, 2 30-minute races. And Zandvoort also, just like Snetterton, known for very close racing, known for very close qualifying, and of course, very close confines as well. I'm selling it like a pay-per-view title match, and it is for the penultimate round.
Yes, of course, we're going off to Zandvoort next week, and then the week after we will be finishing up at Barcelona, I believe, all the way over in Spain. So 2 exciting races coming towards the end of the season. As we see now, Calandrino is looking like he's going to be making a move on Lawrence. He's down the inside for this turn, but he will be hanging back and not quite able to find a way through here on this chicane. But he is right there, and Calandrino is ready to strike at any moment. He has had such a brilliant set of races so far, and he's looking to make a much better position here out of race 2. But Lawrence manages to hold on to it, going through that set of corners there, and I'm not sure how much longer he can hold on, but he doesn't have to for much longer, as we've got only 5 minutes left of this race. So if Calandrino wants that position, he's going to have to make it quick, as we see Lawrence now closing in on a racer yet again. It's been an exciting race too, I have to say. I wasn't sure it could get any more exciting than race 1, but it has definitely lived up to the hype.
I'm very lightheaded. By the way, we can't play you the onboard camera of Andy Boardman. Why? Because the Jaws music is playing. Mikowski has caught back up. Boardman had a little bit of a slip, and that 1 second that was down to 0.8 of a second is down to 0.4 of a second, and now it's down to less than 0.2 of a second. 4 minutes to go. It is race on for the win. Andy Boardman, 4 minutes for the rest of your life. I'm assuming big defensive moves from Boardman here to the inside of every corner. If I was his crew chief, his engineer, I'd say just block him. Just block him every chance you get.
I think I'd be screaming, go, 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 go. I mean, there's only 5 tenths gap here, and we know that Mikowski is one to make a move on these corners, and he's also got a lot of pace, and Mikowski here is ready to strike. Rubliar as well has fallen back to 1.7 seconds behind, so there is no pressure there on Mikowski's defend as well, which means he is going to be full attack right now on Boardman, as he looks like he's buying himself some time on the straight as Mikowski flashes away, perhaps hoping to maybe distract Boardman a bit there and see if he can make Boardman go off track a little bit again. But Mikowski's getting ever so close on these corners, and it looks like he's ready to strike. He only has 3 minutes left to do the move, and he is ready to do it, as this will be a race-winning move. Mikowski could possibly bring home 2 race wins here at Snetterton today, but Boardman will be wanting to bring it home for himself. It will be his first race win of the season, and he has been honestly deserving of this. He has done so many close races, and he has just not had the luck so far, but today the luck looks like it's in his favour. He just has to hold on to it for 3 more minutes.
Meanwhile, Calandrino still trying to get by Lawrence, who is still trying to get by Erasser. I have quickly done the math, and this is not official. This is probably wrong. Fisher, by the way, up to 11th, Verstappen 8th. The points gap between Verstappen and Fisher. Verstappen is your championship leader by just about 5 points.
That is so close, but not only that, Fisher is still gaining. I mean, he's coming up on Zarka. Is there anyone that's going to be able to stop this guy coming through? As Fisher has found his way through Crows, and we now watch Calandrino, who is still trying to make the move on Lawrence and still hasn't been able to find it. But Fisher, what a recovery drive. I mean, he was down in 20th at one point, and Verstappen seems to not be able to find those places. So Fisher is definitely doing the better job in terms of climbing, but Verstappen managing to hold on to that championship by just 5 points. You say Mikowski is still there on Boardman. It looks like he is ready to strike.
Oh, Chamberlain, by the way, is on the back of Verstappen as well, so it could be another position lost for the Chevrolet. Meanwhile, we bring you the battle for the win, the lights flashing, the gamesmanship from the 570 Carbon Sim Sport car, absolutely trying everything, trying to get Boardman. That's a full send. Mikowski with the full send down into the chicane. You love to see it, coming to get the white flag. You know what Mikowski's going to do. He's going to send it. Boardman has to defend. 1 minute left. White flag. The slide out of Mikowski, giving everything to try and win again in the 570. The 69 trying to win for the first time. Both of these drivers racing for pride. They're racing for wins. They don't give a crap about the point.
1 more lap of this Snetterton race too, and Boardman has to hold it together if he wants to bring home that victory. Mikowski has been striking, and Boardman has gone wide. Is Mikowski going to be able to make it through here as they come up into the hairpin? It looks like Mikowski is going to opt
he
onto
went
the
wide
race.
again.
A little bit of touches. Mikowski is going to try and get through Boardman. Now Boardman is still managing to hold the inside. It looks like he's just going to be able to hold it together, but Boardman is crumbling. There's 1 lap left. He needs to keep it together, and Mikowski almost had his moment to strike. He really went for it there. Boardman, he's got 2 sectors left to just hold this lead. He needs to put some distance on Mikowski, who is yet again optimizing that exit, and he's just all over Boardman right now. Is he going to be able to find a way through?
This is lion versus lamb, but remind you, most of the lambs usually get away. Can the 570 do it? You know that Mikowski is going to lunge into the final turn. 1 more turn for the back straightaway, and you know Mikowski's going to send it into the chicane. Nobody else a factor here. Boardman will go ultra defensive, you have to imagine, as the gap does emerge. Mikowski not close enough. Does Mikowski wait for the final 2 turns, as it will be a big ol' send, but still somehow gets it wound up on the brakes? One more turn that he can use to make a pass. Will we see it? They are as close as they've ever been. Mikowski has one more shot.
It looks like Boardman isn't going to be able to get a good final corner out here. He has fallen back and Mikowski's all over him, as Boardman does manage to put himself right in front of Mikowski, and Mikowski will lose a bit of grip. Boardman has the better exit. He will come over the line. He will win this race. Andy Boardman, P1, race 2 of Snetterton here. The Porsche has finally had the luck he needed, and he will bring it home. Mikowski comes in second. Rubelar will be third. Eraser in fourth. Lawrence will hold on to fifth. Calandrino did not find the move. He has dropped to sixth. And Verstappen has been overtaken by Chamberlain, so there's only one person between him and Fisher. That was not the race that Verstappen wanted. He is down in 9th right now. Zarco ran out the top 10, and Fisher has brung it all the way back from 20th to 11th. What a race we have had here today, Jesse Lee.
For Andy Boardman, a season of disappointment, frustration, and a lot of penalties has somehow ended here at round 4 with a win. He might argue it should have been 2 with a major accident in race 1, but he exercises the demons. And folks, I'm just telling you, in case you've never experienced it, it doesn't matter how many losses you've had, you get that win, and it's immediate relief. It's super gratifying. And for the 69, the demons are exercised. Andy Boardman is a GT4 winner. Mikowski did everything he could, but takes home second. Rubelar will settle for third, but I'm not too sure he's upset about that. And by the way, I think the championship is separated by a single point, but I don't know who's in the lead.
It's going to be a tough one to call. Fisher, of course, had it all going for him going to this race. He started second, and then there was an accident on lap 1. He drops down all the way down to 20th, brings it back to 11th to finally close that gap back up to Verstappen, who was again looking like he was going to walk away with the championship. It's been a whole range of emotions here at Snetterton today, but the person who will be happiest coming out of this will be Andy Boardman, who finally had the luck on his side. And I agree with you. No matter how many times you have those losses, no matter how many times you get caught up in trouble, that first time that you get that win in that season, it is everything, and he will definitely be celebrating that win tonight.
Swaglord in chat says, awesome commentary. No, you. Folks, if you did enjoy today's broadcast, like, subscribe, hit the bell, join the Discord, join an upcoming series. We have more than just pro races. We have races for esports, aliens, right down to just beginners. So we have a split for you, and we would love to have you on a track coming up. We have race room events as well as Assetto Corsa Competizione races. So join us, won't you? Join the Discord, get started. A big thank you to our partners, Race Department, AK Informatica, Driver 61 Fanatec, and Sim Racing GP. Use code RCI Coaching D61 for 25% off your driver coaching. And you can use our affiliate link on Fanatec. Doesn't cost you a thing, and it helps us out with things like server cost and etc. Big thank you to Race Department and, of course, AK Informatica, who hosts our servers, and Sim Racing GP. What an insane couple of races we have experienced here today. Round 4 at Snetterton did not disappoint. The championship battle at the expense of Abeladze is back on between two other competitors. Just a few points, if that, in between them. We will bring you the standings next week. Folks, won't you join Tim, Christian, and myself? We'll be at Zandvoort. I sold it like a pay-per-view, except that it's free.
And I personally am so excited for Zandvoort after this race here at Snetterton. Personally, I came into this with expectations a little low, it's Snetterton. I'll admit I don't like it. Now I could easily say I love it. Those were two brilliant races. We have got a brilliant championship now set up for the final two races of the season. First we'll be approaching Zandvoort and then we'll be off to Spain. So it is all to fight for now. Fischer and Verstappen will be your championship leaders. Do not miss out on the action. You will want to find out who wins between those two.
Well, we've got more action than that, and the chat has exploded with comments at the end. We thank you for your comments as well, and we thank you for joining us as always. Like I said, don't hit that bell, or do hit that bell. Don't miss a single race. Tomorrow night, the Friday Endurance Championship. It's going to be myself and Ryan Mawson, as it turns out, bringing you the next round of the Enduro Championship into the mid part of the season. We'll have Stewie on the broadcast with you for that one. And if Night Owls broadcast, it will be Nick, myself, and Ryan Mawson there. And on Monday, the continuation of the Lambo Cup, Jake Boswell, Ryan, and Josh for that one. And we'll be right back with you, Tim Peck, myself, and Christian on October 7th for the hotly contested GT4 championship. It was an explosive day. Two very deserving winners, first-time winners. It was a crazy day. I am now a fan of Snetterton. I don't know how that happened. Folks, it's been brilliant. It's been absolutely fun. We hope that you enjoyed today's broadcast and join us next time. On behalf of myself, everyone here on the RCI team, I've been Jesse Lee, Tim Peck, and Christian. Thank you for joining us, and have a good night.